Hello friends, my name is Alea of Cozy Crochet Co, where I show you how to crochet the cozy way. In today's video, we're going to be addressing the tea that I mentioned in my last video. You guys wanted to know why I probably will not be doing another pattern test or testing a pattern for somebody else for a very long time, or to be very selective about it. So I have my tea right here in my Betty McNick mug. If you want this same mug, go to her website and purchase one. They're absolutely adorable and just aesthetically very pleasing. Like, what mug do you know has such great quality stitches? It's just, let me just do a close-up. I love this mug. This is my favorite mug, and I'm drinking ginger peach tea. And while we're chit-chatting, I am working on, I know I'm picking up a project. I'm working on a little hat, a little tunic hat for myself using some Plymouth yarn, alpaca yarn. I'm using the Denise Tunisian crochet hooks, and probably in like the next few videos I'll let you know like my thoughts on this and do a full review, because they are performing a lot different than I anticipated. But before we get into the tea, if you like crochet and yarn content, make sure you subscribe to my channel. Also like this video and comment down below, am I being dramatic or is my feelings like valid? Also, don't forget to follow me on Instagram at cozycrochet.co, where I post content on there daily. And also, before I get started, I want to talk about and do a big thank you to everybody who has been supporting me by buying my pattern, going to my website and creating it, everybody who has shouted me out, people who are donating to the channel. And it actually helps more than you could even know. Every dollar helps this channel continue running, so I greatly appreciate it. The more support that the channel gets, the more I'm able to do, and it's super exciting to know that there's people out here who are supporting me, and I just love you all and thank you so much. So let's get into the tea. So I hope you got your beverage ready and your project, so let's get into it. If you don't know what a pattern test is, a pattern test is when a designer will pick a few group people to test their pattern for them before they publish it. And the main reason for doing this is so that they know that the pattern is understandable and their vision is coming to life. No matter who picks it up, they can make their product and enjoy the pattern. And it's a very critical part of the pattern making process. Anybody who tests patterns is highly very valuable in the crochet community. I've had the pleasure of having a few pattern testers for my last project, for my last pattern, and they were absolutely phenomenal group of ladies, and I absolutely loved having a group of really enthusiastic testers. I had actually pattern tests for 3 people. I would say with Betty, I didn't really pattern test. I just got like early access, and I completed the pattern and gave my review pretty quickly, and that was for her 6-day hexagon cardigan. And then I also did a pattern test for Luna Muna, and that was her, I think it was like a Frida Swinda sweater, and that was absolutely fun. I absolutely enjoyed that one. The last one that I did before the one I'm going to talk about is the Day Off Tank by Tiny Crochet Couch. Oh my gosh, that's a Tunisia crochet top, and that's the first time that I worked with yarn that was smaller than DK, and that was a learning experience, but I absolutely loved it. And I love all of her patterns, so I was very enthusiastic to finish that pattern test. I really appreciate from Tiny Couch Crochet is that in the middle of the pattern test, I had a loss in my family, and it was really hard for me to do any type of crochet or do any type of content. And so I was very glad that she was like, you know, you don't even have to finish, like, I understand, you know. And she was very sympathetic about my situation. I did end up finishing it on time, and that was very, you know, fortunate that I was able to finish it on time. So what I'm going to talk about, I'm not going to say the designer's name because I don't want her to get any hate. No hate towards the designer. I honestly think that all of the things I'm going to talk about is literally my own doing. You know, she is a business owner. She's trying to do her thing in the crochet community. I'm not knocking her hustle. I'm just purely talking about me and my own preferences. For a while, I had pattern tester in my bio on Instagram. That's when this creator had contacted me and she was like, hey, I see that you have pattern tester in your bio. I would love if you tested my latest pattern. And this was the first time that anybody had ever reached out to me, so I was very enthusiastic. So without doing any homework and without looking at the actual pattern, I mean, I looked at it and I was like, okay, that's cute. Okay, let's do it. But instead of like actually sitting there and thinking like, do I actually want to do this? I just I just blindly filled out the application to do a pattern test, knowing that I was going to be very busy, knowing that I'm running a full-time YouTube channel, posting videos twice a week at the time, knowing that I'm a full-time mom and I have extracurricular activities, and I know I was going to be busy. I still dove headfirst into this test without really looking at how it would be constructed and really doing my homework and zooming in. So when I got the pattern, it then dawned on me that this most of the top was going to be back loop only slip stitches, which creates a very stretchy material and it almost looks like knit material, but it's actually the most tedious thing that you can do in crochet. Well, for me, it's probably the most tedious thing that you can do in crochet. And I didn't realize that I was going to be doing a whole entire top of it. And it dawned on me, I'm not going to be able to do this. It's kind of like the same as like you seeing a beginner learning how to do single crochet. And they're like, oh, I'm going to make a blanket out of only single crochet stitches. And I'm a big girl, y'all know. And my bust is like 48 inches. To do 48 inches of slip stitch, back loop only crochet stitches, I was just not into it. I said no. On top of that, literally the next day after I started the project, because I had been doing, I was like, okay, you know what? Because you had to pay for the pattern if you didn't finish it, if you didn't finish your test. So I was like, you know what? I don't want to pay for the pattern. Not even knowing how much the pattern would be, I was like, I don't want to pay for the pattern, so I'm just gonna work on it. Literally, and so 4 days, I'm still into these slip stitches. It's like literally nails on a chalkboard. And I'm just like, I am so bored right now. Literally the next day, so I was 4 days into the project. Literally the next day, I got a commission for something so much funner. Somebody wanted a baby blanket and I was like, oh yeah. So I stopped that test pattern and I started working on the baby blankets and I made my coin, and that was very exciting for me to be commissioned to do something a little bit more fun, a little bit more my speed. And so I completely abandoned the test. And it was completely on me, because if I would have did a little more research and saw that it was all slip stitches, I would have known right then and there that I was not going to finish it. And so I just was like, and then even the more I got into the pattern, the more I realized how like tedious this pattern was going to be for me. And so I was not enthusiastic to do the pattern. Again, and no hate to the person who created the pattern, because obviously there were people who absolutely loved the project and made multiples. But for me, when I really sat and thought about it, I was like, I would never actually wear this out the house. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would never actually wear this out the house. This is not my style whatsoever. It was very cutesy and girly. I'm more of like a t-shirt, tank top, like non-ruffled type of girl. And so I should have known better than to sign up for something that I knew that I wasn't even going to have any use out of. I don't even know why I did that. I think I was just so excited for somebody to reach out to me and want to work with me that I didn't think about what the long haul would be. So I didn't end up finishing the test. Womp womp. And so because I didn't finish the test, I had to pay for the pattern. Now, I'm not going to knock anybody who prices their patterns any type of way, because obviously, like, you are charging your worth. But she was charging $8 for this pattern, and I didn't know this going into it. But I also think that would have been another thing that made me not want to do this test pattern, because I've never paid $8 for a pattern. And that's because I'm just frugal. Very frugal indeed. Any pattern that I've ever, unless it's a book, I don't pay $8 for a pattern. I'm sorry. I just don't. I was like really butthurt about it. And I was like, you know what? Let me stop, because I don't want to burn any bridges. But literally, I was like, Larry, you're so stupid. Because why would you take on a project knowing that you're not going to enjoy, or not doing any research in it to see if you would even like to do the project? Anyway, so she had came up with another project, and that was actually the last project that I finished before I went on my hiatus. And also, I don't think it was her actual pattern, but because that pattern was actually really fun to do and really fast pattern. It was just the yarn and the circumstances that I was in and everything that made that just not an enjoyable project to finish. And again, I didn't want to have to pay her another $8 for this pattern. That's the end of that story. And I think now, after my experience with being a pattern tester, I think that I have to be more select. I have a Lego in my hand. I have to be more selective of what patterns that I decide that I'm going to test, because one, I feel like it's really important to get feedback from people who actually have their heart in this stuff. And it's a lot of work to do a pattern test, especially in the time frame. Oh yeah, that's another thing. Her time frame was really like short. That's another thing that made me not want to finish it. But people have certain like time frames that they want people to finish stuff in. And it's a lot of work. And that's another reason why I would probably never charge somebody if they didn't finish. Now, if they just never started, that's a whole other thing. But honestly, that's going to be something that is different for each designer. And me personally, I would, as somebody who has done pattern tests and has ran a pattern test for my own pattern, I have had people not finish my pattern. I did not ask them for money. I did not want to charge them for testing my pattern because they didn't finish it. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, now I have two patterns that I will never do. You know what I'm saying? And that's just me. It's different for everybody. I feel like pattern testers, it's a lot of work anyway, and things come up. Most of the people who pattern test are like stay-at-home moms, you know what I'm saying? So things happen and things can be a little bit complicated, but I just feel like, I don't know, it's really weird to try to sit here and charge somebody for testing, not finishing testing your pattern. But as long as like you're clear and be like, hey, if you don't finish my pattern, you have to pay for it, and people know that, I think that's another incentive to people to actually finish. But if you're like me and you don't finish, you have to pay for the pattern. Okay, just know that going into it. I knew that going into it. What I didn't know is that it's going to consist of 48 inches of back loop only slip stitches, and I just was not into it. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm trying to think. It's not really tea. It's kind of like my own personal dilemma. And I definitely think I should have done my research before I jumped into this pattern test. I will say this too. I don't think you should charge people if they don't finish your pattern. If you're going to put it up on your website for free anyway, you understand what I'm saying, right? If you're going to put this pattern up for free anyway, why are you charging your testers if they don't finish your pattern? Anyway, those are just my thoughts. And I want you to tell me down in the comments below, am I wrong? Like, am I being delusional, or are these valid points, right? But yeah, that's gonna be it for today's video. I hope you have a wonderful day, and as always, create something gorgeous. Bye guys.